Hello, good afternoon. You're watching Lunch Honors with Selangor Journal, a show where we talk about anything and everything that has to do with Selangor State Election 2023. I'm Siddharth Jodev, and thank you so much for the rest of you, the audience or viewers who've been following us from day one. If you guys been following us, we have done a couple of episodes from day one where we're talking about, all eyes on Selangor. We had an episode where we talked about Harapan and PN's campaign strategies. We had an episode where we talk about young people in the state election. We were talking about Selangor welfare agenda. There was an episode about Green Wave and women in politics. So if you want to watch any of this episode, you can go back to our YouTube channel, Selangor TV. You can check out our playlist, Lunch on Earth, and you can watch the rest of the episodes. And today, we are going to get into a different topic. Of course, there's 2 more days left for the state election. They'll be happening this Saturday. But before that, let me introduce my guest today. I have Amar Shah. Amar is the assistant news editor, also the senior journalist of Selangor Journal. And then we have Daniel Zulkifli. Daniel Zulkifli is the senior journalist from Selangor Journal. And also, we have Jay Jay Denis today with us, press secretary to Selangor MB. Thank you so much, Jay Jay, for coming us.
Hey, thank
no,
you
you
for
can
having
just
me.
look at...
Okay.
Anyway.
Surrounded by cameras.
So today I was thinking, let's talk about something that's very, very relevant to what you do. Of course, you are the press secretary to Selangor MB. So we do want to discuss about, the case for Selangor MB and your experience working with Selangor MB. Of course, as far as I know, you have worked with Dato Sri Aminuddin Shari as much as you have worked with Dato Sri Azmin Ali before. So we are getting into that. This is a real gossip section. We really get to know what's happening. So let's throw the first question.
Yeah.
How is the election work coming out?
I mean, we are about 35 hours away before campaign ends. I think it's personally I'm running on empty. Need to recharge. I can't wait for it. But it has been a truly exciting campaign. We've met people from across the state. Yeah. I think spirits are up, especially you can see in the last 1 week of the campaign. It was quieter before, but picked up a lot of speed. And I think people have already decided who they're going to vote for on Saturday.
How are you guys think? What's happening? The last 2 days, we have 2 more days for the election.
As what JJ said, spirits are up. People have kind of already made up their minds who they want to vote for. I think by this time they kind of know who their candidates are, who are the best option for them, and probably most of us have a good laugh throughout the campaign period. So many things happen, good or bad. It's good entertainment, I would say, and overall that kind of contribute to maybe I should vote for A, maybe I should vote for B. At least that's from the sentiment on the ground.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's just this final couple of days is just a matter of identifying or to be more exact, like the number of seats at Pakatan Harapan and PN.
Yeah.
Which way will it go? Yeah, I think that's just I think we will find out soon.
We'll find out soon.
Yeah, we will.
So, coming back to JJ, quite recently, Dato Sri Anuar Ibrahim announced that Dato Sri Aminuddin Shari is going to be the next Menteri Besar, provided, after the election and stuff. So, do you think it's justified that he deserves to be the next Menteri Besar?
I think his work has done the talking. Over the last term, full 5 years, we've gone through 4 major crises. It began, the first 1.5 years, 2 years were pretty good, finding our feet and implementing new ideas. And then Sheraton came, we all know what happened, the first salvo, closely followed by the COVID pandemic. So managing a political crisis, instability at the federal level, which caused a lot of problems to try to navigate the pandemic. You had different approaches in the federal government, and that's when the state government felt we had to step up and step in when there was a lot of uncertainty at the federal level. PKP one day, PKPP tomorrow, PKPD, all sorts of PK you had. And MB decided to listen to experts. We got in the former Minister of Health and his team of people who were already expecting certain things when the last month and a half when PH was in government. And then the floods struck in December 2021. That was a climate crisis we had to deal, and I think if you compare to all other states which experienced the floods, Selangor responded the quickest, and people managed to rebuild their lives a lot quicker, as opposed to maybe Malacca, Johor, the other three states on the East Coast. And we have had to deal also with after effects of the economic crisis due to inflation, rising prices. So I think we've managed it quite well, and we've not been perfect. Certain things we can improve upon, of course. Especially from our core supporters who'll tell you, certain issues there's room to do things better, and we are not shying away from those side of criticism. We accept it, and that is why I think some of the ideas we've looked into implementing deserves a second term, and that's why I think MB is seeking re-election this time around.
Right.
Yeah. If I can just add to that, so obviously we know that Selangor has just released RS1, Rancangan
right.
Selangor yang pertama, and I think that given that YB Amiruddin was the one behind the whole plan, so obviously that from the neutral perspective, like he should be given the chance to at least oversee the completion of that RS1.
Realize the plans.
To realize that. So because he did it obviously. But what do you think, Daniel?
No, that's why I want to ask you back before I give my my assessment. What's your professional and personal assessment of him? It's two separate things. Just want to get your take first.
In what aspect?
Professional as his
His
as
work.
an administrator,
Okay.
and personal as in the politician, as a politician.
As a person, yeah.
I think if you compare to previous administrators in Selangor, he's a pair of steady hands.
Okay.
So no controversy, but at the same time, people wish they would see him more. So he's actually personally an introvert. So he doesn't really speak much. But when it comes to doing work, and when it comes to expecting your leaders to step up, that is where you see him. He doesn't shy away from controversy. When it comes to, you guys have covered him a long time. As opposed to other politicians, you can ask him 5 questions, he will give you the full answer and he will repeat it to ensure that you understand. Or if you have follow-up questions, I think very few politicians come close to being open to journalists, not just wanting to be seen as open, but addressing the hot button issues.
Okay.
So he's never stayed away from that.
Also, we had a short conversation earlier before the show started, and you did mention that you work under Datuk Sri Azmin for about 10 months. Am I
I
right?
was hoping they wouldn't come up, but we all make mistakes. But we learn from them.
But yeah, I'm just curious to know because obviously, like, since you work with both of them, right,
Yep.
in office, how does Amiruddin compare to Azmin individually as a person, and also when it comes to work?
My personal experience, a lot longer this time around. Very short period, less than a year working with Datuk Sri Azmin. They couldn't be more different. Datuk Sri Azmin is one of the most calculative and meticulous politicians I've ever met. And maybe that's due to his background as a mathematician. So everything has to have a reason, whatever, down to words. In speeches, every word has to have a reason. And he micromanages to the last detail. Some people say there's a good thing, but when you're administering a state, you also have to trust people and empower people to do the work. It's not a one-man show. And that, I think, is where the biggest difference with Datuk Sri Amiruddin is. If you speak to civil servants, not only in the state government, but even down to the local councils and district officers, they feel that their roles have been expanded, they are entrusted, and they trust that they're given a lot more room to experiment with new things, but by first understanding what the big picture is. So that is where I think MB has done and built a relationship with the civil servants over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And if you go and speak to them, they feel that each initiative, they've played a crucial role in realizing
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And I think Datuk Sri Anwar did the same thing at the federal level. He did announce that, instead of like giving everything to external advisors, why are we paying our civil servants for? And I think now that you mentioned, Amiruddin is also doing the same thing. So I think that's good to know. That's good to know.
It's important to know. I think in his recent podcast with Kyrie and Shahid, he did mention that he may not have a big name compared to the late Tan Sri Khalid,
Yeah.
Datuk Sri Azmin. So it's like, I want to change the dynamics a bit.
Yeah.
Let's just work as a team.
Yeah.
and that has really translated well. In his
That's
career.
right.
Because at the end of the day, like my question to my leader will be like, do I want someone who's recognizable, who's popular, but who can't deliver on their service, on their duty, or will I want someone who is like under the radar, but then keep things everything going smoothly?
Yeah.
Obviously, most will prefer the latter, and I think that what Amiruddin
Especially in Selangor.
embodies.
Especially in Selangor.
Yes.
Especially.
Now, I want to come to this conversation that we were having before the show, where Amar was saying that probably Azmin could have done a lot better if the pandemic wasn't the case. He wasn't, if he wasn't doing the administration work during the pandemic. So, working with him, do you think the pandemic was one of the reason why he didn't perform as much as he's expected to, or do you think, like, how professionally how?
Yeah, I think the question we had was just now was like, the argument was during Amiruddin's time, he had the pandemic, so and then he managed to pull Selangor out. And then I think my question to Daniel and another colleague was that it's a bit hard to do that comparison because during Azmin's time as Menteri Besar, there was no pandemic, so how do we judge whether he will perform better or not?
Yeah.
But then again, he was the Minister of Economy MITI at the time when the pandemic happened, and I think largely people can see. But what's your take on that, Jay?
I think you can judge most of them based on what they did during the pandemic. One was listening to experts, and if you look at and you speak to ministers who were in cabinet with Azmin, quite a few disagree with the way he did things, which caused instability. You have collective responsibility in cabinet, but if you look at what the former Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri said, there's an agreement in cabinet that you're supposed to follow certain SOPs. Someone opened the back door and released
remember the
letters for
photo.
people to operate. Is that how a team player operates? I do not think that's a healthy way to operate.
And obviously, I mean, you work with Datuk Sri Amiruddin for quite some time now. During that pandemic period, like how was the behind the scenes? Maybe you can share with us like what it was like for you, for YB Amiruddin, the meetings and all that.
This work from home thing became very popular during the pandemic, but we never work from home. We were not in the office, but we were all working from his official residence down to the civil servants because less than a week into the lockdown, we decided that there is no way we could just sit back and allow the federal government to operate without doing anything.
Okay.
So less than 2 weeks, we were almost completing the first stimulus package. Because a lot of people were complaining that if you remember back at that point, people were so uncertain. When are we going to go back to work? Is it even safe to go back to work? Most affected people were people operating daily garages, in the morning markets, night markets, people who had overhead in commercial shop lots. How are you going to pay rent? Are you going to be able to meet your rent? These kind of people needed help. But you couldn't go out to eat in restaurants. So we decided that we needed to empower and use e-hailing as an intermediary between food outlets and people who were at home. So many things had to be done, and I think the federal government needed help, but did not seek assistance.
There was intense. Like the relationship, some might say is okay, but looking at that situation at the time, there was it was not that good, isn't it? The relationship between state and federal.
Between certain individuals, maybe, but from MB, his position was this is not a time for us to be divisive and play partisan politics. You needed to save lives, so you put all that aside, and he was speaking quite a few times with the DG of Health at that point. YB at that point, Minister of Mosti YB Khairi, who was then put in charge of
Vaccine.
procuring vaccines. So at that point, it was not a time to get in touch and indulge in politics. His thing was, you have to save lives first and then try to get people back, if possible, economically not too damaged. So that was what we did in Selangor, I think, which is a lot different.
Okay. Now, this is the question. I mean, definitely the pandemic can be considered somewhat of a silver lining towards Amiruddin's administration. But the what if, I think people were asking, what if that COVID was not there? Would he just be would he be this? Would his performance be this stellar or good?
I think it would have been even better. Because if you look into what Datuk Sri Amiruddin did in the first 6 months, he announced a new approach to enhance each locality in Selangor through clusterization.
Yeah.
So he implemented 10 specific clusters, not something out of the sky,
Okay.
but after the first month or two, he spoke to each district officer, each local council. Okay, tell me what are unique points in your area. Whether you are in Hulu Selangor, some element of tourism, but being close to the automotive city in Tanjung Malim. If you are in the West Coast, tourism is a big point, but also trying to empower farmers, play a crucial role in food security. Down in the south, of course you have the airport in Sepang, but what are the other unique areas in terms of empowering traditional villages? Of course, Petaling Jaya, Shah Alam are the two most developed districts in Selangor. But what areas can you enhance in terms of new business districts or transitioning current economic business districts to make it more green and comply with ESG specifics?
Right. Now, we also know that Dato Sri Amiruddin and Dato Sri Azmin used to be party colleagues, right? And then there are claims that, of course, Dato Sri Azmin that used to be Dato Sri Amiruddin's mentor in some way or the other. Now, I'll push this question out for you guys before I go to JJ. As a journalist observing this, what is your take on that? Like, is he, because people claim that whatever Dato Sri Amiruddin doing right now is just an expansion of what Dato Sri Azmin has started earlier.
Yeah.
So, and that he's, he's still in that shadow of Azmin Ali. So what do you think about that as a journalist covering this?
One thing the most notable thing, because before Amiruddin was picked as MB, after that there was a particular incident where the party election happened, and the person that put in Azmin's name nomination for deputy president was Amiruddin as a Selangor MB. For me, I found it very awkward. But then somebody informed me of their history, of their long history, and then said, now I understand why. So when I covered him, it's very hard for people to break Amiruddin Azmin. But then GE happened. So he went on against Azmin and won by a huge majority. Even to this day, some are still questioning whether either he's still in Azmin's shadow, still questioning his loyalty, but he has repeatedly said that's not the case, and that was also shown during GE. I think some say that the matter ended there, but I don't think he can run away from that. Statement.
That argument will always remain with Azmin and Amiruddin. In fact, in our show, Lunch on this, like almost every time you speak about Azmin, like he's
too popular.
He's too popular for the wrong reasons, or right reasons. That's for the reason.
Debatable.
Yeah, that's debatable. But yeah, I agree with Daniel. Like I think the two things that would put Amiruddin out of Azmin's shadow. Number one is obviously the Gombak victory in the last January election. Because I think there was some concerns that Azmin could win there. And number two is the fact, because I think JJ did mention about the state's performance in the past 5 years under Amiruddin, whether before COVID or after COVID-19, and how Amiruddin has steered the state, steady the ship. And I think that the fact that they now contribute 25.5% of the national GDP shows a lot about Amiruddin's leadership and his professional work. So yes, obviously, like you mentioned, Azmin will always be talked about. He's very popular and all that. But you have to give credit where credit is due, and I think Dato Sri Amiruddin deserves a lot of credit for what he has done for Selangor.
Right.
But what's your take on this, JJ? Can the two men be separated in that sense?
I think Dato Sri Amiruddin has maintained a lot that he's a party man. If you go back in history from the time he joined, he was actually close to first Ezam.
Yeah.
Anwar's former private secretary. And then when Ezam, he always tells us about the story. When Ezam left the party, people thought he was going to leave. He remained in the party.
Yeah.
And then he was appointed as at this point, Selangor under Tan Sri Khalid had this thing called Penolong Exco, almost like a deputy exco. So he was helping out in sports and housing. And then when Tan Sri Khalid happened, in Kajang, people thought he was going to leave as well.
Yeah.
He remained in the party. And his relationship with Azmin, people always mention it because at the end of the day, if you look at it, for a long time, Azmin was the Gombak MP.
Correct.
Dato Sri Amiruddin is a state assembly person under Gombak in Sungai Tua. But to Caves first, then Sungai Tua.
Yeah.
And because of that, he had to find ways to work with Azmin. And over time, they developed a relationship in understanding that he believed Azmin wanted to take Selangor to a different place, much more success. And to be fair, he did some good things in Selangor. You have to give credit to Dato Sri Azmin for that. But at the same time, there's always room for improvement. And I think MB has taken the baton and taken it to the next level.
Do you think, because I mean, like, if we look at a lot of the statements issued by Dato Sri Azmin in the past couple of years, he's now beginning to, I would say, criticize or attack the Selangor government, attack Dato Sri Amiruddin.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because he feels, I don't know, betrayed by Dato Sri Amiruddin for not joining him when they, I mean, obviously he and
Initiated Sheraton.
Yeah, initiated the Sheraton move, because I think there was, perhaps there was hope on Azmin's side that Amiruddin, considered as his like the next Azmin Ali in Selangor would have followed him, but he didn't, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, early this week, when Dato Sri Amiruddin shared on the other podcast, Keluar Sekejap, why didn't you follow your so-called mentor? It was the wrong decision.
Yeah.
And he warned him beforehand that if you do this, you're going to be made the scapegoat and people are going to find fault with you and use you as a punching bag. He didn't listen. So sometimes I think Azmin expects blind loyalty. In this world.
I think Azmin did mention that in the Keluar Sekejap podcast as well, that, like, he felt that his loyalty to Anwar wasn't repaid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the end of the day, you are serving the people.
Yeah.
You're not serving your own interests, right?
Yeah.
But he also did mention that he also expects somebody to be as loyal as him towards Anwar.
Yeah.
So he's hoping Amiruddin was that person. That's just my personal assessment.
Heartbroken.
So
And for me, it's more like what you get instead of what are you doing to the people, the whole thing. So it's just like, but we're talking about the podcast. I was hoping to talk about Lanka Sheraton because, of course, there was a podcast with Dato Sri Amiruddin Shari and then there was a podcast with Dato Sri Azmin Ali, and then we saw both. And this is an interesting part where Dato Sri Amir has claimed that he advised Azmin Ali 2-3 weeks prior to Sheraton move. And then, however, Azmin went on to say that, Dato Sri Amiruddin was in fact in some of the meetings that was, that is related to Sheraton move.
Yep.
Spill the tea.
I think it was quite clear. He met Azmin a few times, as MB has already stated publicly. But Azmin never listened, and he went. Let's make no mistake. He was the mastermind behind this whole thing.
Right.
Right. Whatever he said on Keluar Sekejap, I think that's if you put a fact check portion on the episode, you can write a few wonderful articles. And it's a small world in Malaysian politics. You and everyone knows each other. You just have to make a few phone calls to find out, hey, is this actually true? And MB has mentioned it quite a few times after checking and rechecking and triple checking with the former Prime Minister's office, Tun Mahathir. He was not going to favor this at all. And to be fair to Tun Mahathir, he never followed.
Right.
Be fair to him in that respect.
That
like
respect,
everything
yeah.
else.
So the implications from this particular thing has economic, political consequences. I think beyond
For sure.
anyone's imagination what happened.
Yeah.
But just listening to these both men, even like Azmin, he still feels very hurt over this particular. It didn't turn out the way he wanted to.
Yeah.
And then GE happened, and now we're in this current political landscape, and he is trying to attack this current state administration. But in your personal assessment, so far his attacks, his ceramah, one that he allowed us to follow whoever. Sometimes his movements is very
Exactly.
like kabo. Just want to get your take on it, whether it has holds any water or is just an angry man pointing at a wall.
People are seeing him to be a bitter person, that he's unable to move on. I mean, I don't understand why he still wants to talk about Anuar Ibrahim. Anuar Ibrahim and Azmin Ali are no longer the same party. Azmin should focus and try to help Tan Sri Muhyiddin. Need to move on. I mean, in life, not only in politics, in life, if something doesn't work out, move on. He's always looking back in the past and feeling that it's all about himself. I feel unappreciated. I want loyalty. I'm not getting it. Maybe he should start looking in the mirror and questioning himself instead of everyone else.
So do you think he has a chance at the seat Hulu Klang? Do you think he'll be able to make it?
I think it'll be a tight contest for one fact, because he's been there for a long time. It's his hometown. People appreciate individuals who've been there a long time. But on the other hand, I think the other candidate in Harapan, Wabi Juwaria, also went to school in Hulu Klang. So I think she's approached things in a very balanced manner, trying to meet people individually, having a personal touch. So I think Azmin shouldn't underestimate Juwaria in that campaign in Hulu Klang. After all, look at what happened in Langkawi, right? Even a former PM can lose his deposit. So
Right.
don't take anything for granted.
Yeah, I mean, quite interesting because when we were talking initially before the announcement of the names, the candidates were announced, there were a lot of also speculations that Azmin could possibly contest in seats like Morib. I think a couple of other seats in the northern and southern part of Selangor where I think
Considered safe lah.
considered safe. So when it was confirmed that he would be contesting in Hulu Klang, obviously he grew up there, his parents are there. But I think it raises a question of why did he choose Hulu Klang when it's not entirely safe for him to contest there, because there's a huge chance, because you did mention that YB Juwairah has a bright chance, and I do see even at the moment it's quite 50-50. It's not safe for Azmin.
I will only say is that compared to, of course, you really can't compare Juwariah's brand towards Azmin Ali because Azmin has a bigger brand.
Of course.
But people also argue that perhaps if you want to place somebody in Hulu Klang to go out against Azmin, he needs to have his own umph lah. I can take you on. To be fair to Juwariah, she prefers much more like face-to-face engagements. Her local network. I think she's just trying to engage Azmin on that level. So that's a concern. I mean, do you think Azmin Ali still has a good brand there, or people are just kind of
in Gombak in general? What do you feel?
In Gombak, I think it's clear. The last election showed it. He was a divisive figure. People in Gombak made a resounding decision, 12,700 majority. In Hulu Klang, I think it'll be a close battle.
Okay.
Some people, I think what Azmin is trying to do is bank on nostalgia, what he did in Selangor, and trying to rewrite history, what he did in his time in government as an economic affairs minister and MITI as well. So he has not spoken a lot about what PN wants to offer. I don't think he has spoken much about PN's manifesto besides the launch. I mean, even he didn't launch it. If he's really going to be the Menteri Besar candidate, he should launch it, not Tan Sri Muhyiddin, who's not contesting. So I think that says a lot.
Which brings me to my next question, because you mentioned about Menteri Besar. So I have to ask you this. Like obviously we know PH has already named his Menteri Besar candidate, which obviously is Dato' Sri Amiruddin. PN has not yet announced any candidates, but I think it's an open secret that it is Dato' Sri Azmin Ali. So it's Dato' Sri Azmin Ali. I'm just curious, why do you think PN has not officially made it public that Azmin is their candidate? What do you think, Daniel?
It's damn if you do, damn if you don't. Because from my personal assessment on the ground, actually, I think Azmin has an image problem. Definitely from whatever he has done in the past couple of years, especially Sheraton has given a very huge image problem. In fact, even on nomination day, Hilman's image was more prominent compared to Azmin. Even like in campaign posters, Hilman is at the center. Maybe I'm reading it a bit too much, but it's like Azmin is right there. So this small things that I'm reading, and then if they do announce that he is a poster boy, now with supposed rumors that Bersatu is facing a very huge infighting within their own party, it might embolden Azmin more to their own detriment. I guess that's the situation. What was your take on it, JJ?
I think in the same way that he's a divisive figure in Gombak, he is also a divisive figure in Bersatu.
Yeah.
So the folks in Bersatu, I think, don't take it too kindly to him based on the noises we've heard. 2 division chiefs have left the party in Selangor in the last 2 weeks. And PAS.
Yeah.
Bersatu in Selangor is depending almost wholly on PAS's machinery, PAS's grassroots. But they've only given them half the seats to contest. 17 seats for PAS, 30 for Bersatu. So PAS is doing all the hard work. Organising ceramas, organising meetings, organising small level events, kelompok, organising solat in masjid. Bersatu datang, ikut suka join,
Claim credit.
and then you want to be Menteri Besar.
Yeah.
So
Because
I
I did heard that there are some pushbacks from PAS.
Of course.
That they won. So I think there's perhaps an agreement behind the scene that whichever party has most seats in this election, granted if PN wins the state election, and then the MB will come from that party. But also to add to that, I also feel another reason why possibly Azmin was not named as a MB candidate is perhaps maybe because Perikatan Nasional is not sure whether Azmin can even win his seat in Hulu Klang.
Yeah.
What do you think, JJ?
Maybe Rina Harun is a Menteri Besar candidate.
She'll be contesting my constituency, by the way. So I mean,
You're gonna vote for her?
Batu Tiga. Yeah, I'll be voting in Batu Tiga. So yeah, voters, please do the right thing in Batu Tiga.
All right, thank you so much, everybody, for sharing your thoughts. We really had fun talking about, the case for Selangor Menteri Besar. We were talking about Datuk Sri Aminuddin Syariah. Also, we were talking about Datuk Sri Azmin Ali. Now, before we go to the second segment, of course, 2 days left for the election. Everybody is, the voters will be wondering and questioning about, the process of election. Yes, you went out to vote in last November, but, you sort of, maybe you don't know what's going to happen. Maybe you don't know how to vote anymore. So, which is why our team has prepared a special short film for you, a short commercial for you to see, to explain the process of voting. Let's watch that.
Tapi korang tengok tak Wakanda kali ni?
Aku memang tak suka lah Syuri. Setakat dia berlakon Wakanda aku pun boleh
Setiap
buat
kali
lah.
ni Wakanda.
Tapi Wakanda dah. Excuse me. Ni ingat rumah ke? Ini pusat pengundian. Peraturan pertama pusat pengundian, tolong senyap. Ni, mana barisan ni? Beratur elok-elok. Bengkang, bengkok. Nak ke mana?
Hari ni kan 19 hari bulan. Mestilah nak mengundi.
Ya, tahu nak mengundi, dek. Tapi awak kena tunggu kat luar tu sehingga polis tu kat depan tu bagi awak masuk. Bukan main masuk je.
Oh, okey. Baik. Okey.
Ni dah kenapa pandang-pandang ni? Kad pengenalannya mana?
Oh, lupalah. Maybe it's with my mother.
Astaga, anak dola. Kad pengenalan tak ada. Macam mana mereka nak cat butiran awak? Awak tak ada kad pengenalan, awak tak boleh mengundi. Pergi ambil.
Okay.
Okey, baik Encik. Boleh saya tengok kedua-dua belah tangan?
Tunjuk tangan? Kenapa pula? Saya bukan pencuri.
Apa masalah kamu ni? Ini prosedur mengundi. Kerana pengundian pertama ni akan semak butiran kamu untuk pastikan nombor kad pengenalan, nama mestilah tepat. Lepas tu kamu kena tunjukkan kedua-dua belah tangan kamu untuk diperiksa.
Kerana pengundian pertama akan pas kad kamu kepada kerana pengundian kedua untuk pengesahan. Kalau semua clear, kamu kena celupkan jari kamu dalam botol dakwat pilihan raya apabila disuruh oleh kerani pengundian kedua. Kamu jalan depan lagi sikit ke kaunter kerani pengundian ketiga dan ambil kertas pengundian yang diberi.
Habis tu?
Lepas tu, kamu pergilah ke kaunter ketua tempat mengundi untuk tinggalkan handphone kamu kat situ.
Tinggal handphone? Habis macam mana nak buat IG story?
IG story lah. Kenapa tak buat TikTok je? Boleh buat live. Kan ada peminat tu. Dapat gift lagi kau.
Boleh ke?
Tak boleh lah. Ambil gambar kertas undi ni menyalahi undang-undang. Lagipun undi kan rahsia. Kamu nak show off kat siapa?
Habis tu?
Habis tu tinggal phone tu pergi mengundi. Ya Allah, stresnya aku dengan kau ni.
Ya?
Kenapa jalan-jalan ni? Pergilah undi.
Oh, mana saya tahu Kak. Saya baru first time nak mengundi ni.
Lah, okey. Kamu pergi kat petak undi tu dulu.
Yang ni?
Ya, masuk.
Okey. Ada pen dalam ni?
Ya.
Okey. Oh, ada pen. Akak. Dah siap macam ni
Yang kamu tanda duduk tempat tu dah kenapa?
Tapi saya suka duduk calon ni.
Kenapa tak tanda yang nombor 3 tu sekali?
Oh, boleh
Tak boleh. Ini tandanya kertas undi rosak.
Undi rosak?
Lah.
Ini antara contoh undi rosak. Tanda lebih daripada satu calon, tanda melangkaui ruang calon lain, pangkah luar kotak, pangkah di belakang kertas undi, tulis nama sendiri, lukis gambar di mana-mana bahagian kertas undi, tulis perkataan yang tidak perlu, kertas undi yang ditulis dengan perkataan, kertas undi yang dikoyak, kertas undi kosong iaitu tidak bertanda.
Handphone tu jangan lupa ambil.
Lupa pula.
Paling bagus.
Pakcik kawan tembang lagi better.
Apa bising-bising ni? Dah selesai mengundi kan? Balik. Tak boleh berkumpul di pusat mengundi sebegini. Dah balik. Hai. Anda ingat semua perkara ini penting pada hari mengundi nanti. Pastikan anda keluar mengundi. Ianya penting bagi menentukan masa depan negara. Selamat mengundi.
Kak.
And that was, that's the simulation that we created for you guys, so you know what to do this Saturday. So make sure go out and vote, make the right choice. That's all we have to say. Make the right choice. Okay. Now, coming to our second segment, we are talking about what say you. In this segment, we will talk about what people are saying online about any specific things that's that's regarding this state election, not only in Selangor but across the country in six different states. But today, I'm actually interested to talk about this one major event. I feel like it's very significant that happened for this state election campaign. We are talking about Roh Ne Karo and Journey. You see, I came up with the title just like how Shahid was proud with his pantun. I'm very proud of that. Okay, so we are talking about the debate session that happened last night. Of course, did you guys watch it?
Yes.
What's the debate?
Debatable. Oh, that is debatable. If that is the debate. Now, before I go deep into whatever the debate is about and your thoughts about it, let's watch. I'm going to show a very short clip of how the debate went last night.
So you see. So you see, it's very simple. Labour market, more adaptable and responsive. Liberalise service sector. Dasar tenaga nak di-liberalise. Dan improve the quality of public taxation. Tak apa lagi.
So I mean I could have gone to pick a longer clip, but I feel like there's no need, because we literally saw a debate session where the debater was holding a paper and referring to the paper and reading off the paper whatever he wants to say. Before sharing your thoughts, let me share some of the memes and what people are saying online. Now, let's see. We are looking at the meme created by people. Roh Niet Ruang Yang Kero. So people are saying Shakespeare more than Shakespeare. And then we have that you can see the second meme over there. Moving on to people's comment. Now let's read this. Farhan is saying, pesanan saya kepada semua, one of the best of PH versus PN was laid out in front of you to discuss about the economy. Choose wisely. Tell your friends and family too. And then we have some other comments saying that orang suruh debat dia bagi debat bagi idea, ni bagi pantun je pandai. Shahid pun tak nak tahan air keruh, dia pun nak air jernih. Keratlah video mana pun dalam debat tu letak sini tetap dia nampak macam badut juga. Moving on. Then we have format debat pun tak faham. Shahid bukan koyak dengan audience tapi koyak sebab dia tahu ucapan dia tak ada isi pun. Hikmah debat malam ini, seluruh rakyat Malaysia dapat tahu ayah Shahid orang Kelantan, maknya orang Melaka. Sepatutnya kalau dia buat pengsan time debat tu, mesti dia terselamat dari kena lipat. Kesimpulan debat hari ini, Shahid bukan pakar ekonomi tapi pakar pembinaan rumah, satu bumbung, 4 tiang. The last one says, seluruh Malaysia telah lihat Shahid terkial-kial di dalam sesi debat semalam. Dia tahu apa yang dia cakap. Dia tak tahu apa yang dia cakap sebab dia pun baca teks. Seperti biasa, tugas harakah ialah untuk menyesatkan umat manusia dan harakah telah lakukan dengan baik sekali. So these are some of the, actually, I mean, and you know, I didn't have to sort of search in detail. All I have to do is go on Twitter and just type debat. Yeah. That's it. And this was what people are talking about. Now, let me ask you guys, what do you think about the debate?
Yeah, we had a long conversation earlier, Daniel, about this debate, right, Daniel? But what do you think, Daniel?
I thought you didn't watch the debate. So you watched it.
I tried to watch it. And then I'm like, is this a debate or a political drama? Because, okay, I get where Rafizi is coming from. He gave the details. I really did hope that somebody from past could come up with good arguments, at least. Something that we could talk about. It's okay that everybody can criticize and have a good laugh, but I will be the guy who said, is there anything good coming out from yesterday's quote-unquote debate? Is there anything from past's side? Is there anything? Yeah. Does anyone have anything that they can share that say that he actually provide the prescription for the new model of the economy? Yeah. That's what I think people want to hear, the prescription. What's the detail? How do you change the old structure? What is your plan? I could go on right now and give this his political statement just by referring to his paperwork. So what's the prescription?
I mean, like the whole topic was about the new economy, and I don't think the new model. About the new model, but I don't think Shahid did that. And I think the debate just shows that he was ill prepared, which is not good. Obviously, you're going to go up against the Menteri Economy. You would want to be prepared, and he wasn't. And I think YB Rafizi did make a good point after the whole debate. I think there was a clip on social media, an short interview with Awani, where he said, the debate is not, like how well you converse, how well you deliver your message, but it's how much you know. So he mentioned, he spoke about you need to read more to understand better about the topic you're talking about. And I don't think Shahid did that. And I think that's not good, from the neutral perspective.
But just out of curiosity, is Shahid the best PN can offer?
There's a thing. In terms of parliamentarian, I do not know. Perhaps they send him to do what he needs to do. But my personal experience with PAS especially, they do have economists, professionals, people with proper CPA, CFA, with proper qualifications that give them advice. So I'm quite perplexed last night that Shahid just bring that sort of argument. So it's quite confusing.
Yeah, it's more confusing that his name on Twitter, his username is Shahid Nomic. I think it has to do with economic, but we all saw what happened. We all saw what happened yesterday. But back to your point, Sid. I mean, I'm not sure if they have anyone better. But if this is the kind of quality, for example, that the party has to offer, then as a voter, I'll be a bit worried. Because let's say, for example, if PAS does come into power, is this what we are talking about? Compared to Rafizi, I think his points were quite clear. His direction was clear. His plan was very clear. And I think as a voter, you'll feel more confident in having someone like Rafizi, for example, as the minister. But what do you think, JJ?
I don't want to ask JJ because you're a press secretary, right? So if you put your candidate out there like that, what is your take?
I think raise the white flag first. But I mean, I understand. He tried to put an image that he came prepared, PowerPoint slides and structure. Maybe didn't have time to finish the structure, so he said, "You give us power, then we finish it." That's a political statement, but I don't know whether it's an issue of delivery or it's an issue of ideas. I mean, some issues which he raised, I think, are also quite important to look at. For instance, they realized that stability in the economy is important, which is why he said stability in the economy is one of the main four pillars which he wants to focus on, and maybe he didn't. I don't know whether he didn't convey the message clear enough, and even the issue like federalism is a challenge many states face. Trying to balance most of the governing room and power in the federal government, and states only deal primarily with land matters. But he could have gone into more detail.
Correct.
Instead of federalism or
State.
Yeah. I mean, so I don't know whether it's an issue of delivery, but I understand he was trying to raise some points. It just didn't come off that way. But if you look on, those are the memes you saw on Twitter. Look on Facebook, people are quite happy with the way he debated and say, oh, thank you for raising these issues.
Yeah, and I think we have to give him credit. Like when people like Sanusi rejected, turned down Rafizi's offer for a debate, he stepped up. And to think that
But his stepping up alone is enough, because now you're a national joke.
I mean, no one foresaw that, but the fact that he had the courage to come,
you
have to give credit to him, because obviously if I was there, I would have rejected Rafizi's offer.
Right. The problem is moving forward. I think at the end of the day, whatever it is you want to see on a political platform, that's your business. But when it comes to the economy, there's clear detail. What's the prescription? How do you plan to address A, B, C, D, E? It's very clear. So you can say whatever it is when you work on a political platform. I promise this, I promise that. But how the mechanism behind it, that's very important.
Yeah. Also, I saw a lot of comments that they're saying that he's not really there to debate, but he's there for that short clips, video clips to post on social media, on TikTok. I mean, I'm not sure whether this is true or not, but
that is I cannot remember who, but this was done even in the States, like Republican candidates who know they could not come up with good arguments against Democrat candidates. They just chop it up.
Yeah, you take the good bits of the video
and then just smash it into a good video. That's it. They just propagate that.
I'm trying to connect the dots here. Earlier, you guys said where, at this point, just 2 days left for election, people have already made their mind. That's one thing. And then second, JJ just mentioned that when you go on Facebook, people are actually, saying good stuff that, oh, he has done great and whatnot. So do you think this kind of debate at this point of time, does it have any impact on the candidate or their campaigning? Does it have any impact?
For the state elections, I wouldn't say it's a major swing factor. But it does play a role for two aspects. If people who are undecided whether my vote matters, I think yesterday's debate will help nudge you in the direction to say, hey, maybe I should just go out and vote, because there are more things at risk here. And then second is people who wanted to vote but not sure who to vote for. That would have given you an example of what to expect from either coalition, the two major coalitions in the country who are going head-to-head in the state elections.
Yeah, I agree. Because I was going to say, I think because you mentioned whether it will have an impact, I would say yes for the fence-sitters, and which JJ rightly pointed out. So if you have not made your decision, I think it gives a very good indicator or indication on who you should vote, or which of the party will offer better quality policies and plans moving ahead.
It's just good content for both supporters, I would say.
So I think a lot of people watched it yesterday. I think
yes, it was
peak time on YouTube was 37,000 people. On Facebook. So easily 60 to 70,000 people watched it live yesterday. More so today and so on.
So like what Amar was saying, that probably he was there for the short clips. Like earlier I remember we were talking about urban and rural voters, and how yes, for urban voters they are a bit more aware of this economic issue and stuff, but for rural voters, is they just want to see their candidates being represented somewhere. So the fact that they can actually see their candidate standing there with Rafizi and sort of, they don't understand what's going on, the content of the show, whether if he actually debated well or he took the questions well or not. But as long as he's saying things like that, like common people will understand, like some of his pantone, then maybe that was the intention, that clip worked.
Yeah, for a few, I think you will get votes, based on that roh and all that, you'll get vote. But at the end of the day, you will want your voters to be more well informed, I feel. If you treat your voters like they are not intelligent enough, then you'll get voters who are not intelligent. So you need to treat them intelligent, you need to treat them as matured voters who will make the right decision.
I think that's always a constant challenge in politics. Voters are informed, but whether they're well informed or misinformed, and that's up for debate. It's always up for debate.
Yeah.
So, JJ, my question is that you were also part of the state government that included PASS in 2018, right? So, looking at the debate last night, do you think that resembles the professional conduct of PASS? You know, the idea, where they're coming from and stuff.
I think if you look into the history of PASS, what Daniel pointed out, they have had historically many people of caliber. If you look into Amanah today, they all came from PASS.
Yeah.
People always talk about how well Dr. Zul performed in the Ministry of Health. He was the strategic director of PASS, Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad. The recent loss of Datuk Sri Salahuddin was the PASS youth chief before. In Selangor at that point, who is also contesting today, Dr. Yunus. I have respect, real respect for the man because he focuses a lot more on issues which matter to local people at the council level as well as the state level. And he's a track record of doing that. He was a former EXCO. So credit where credit is due. In Selangor, I think PASS Selangor is quite different from, say, PASS in Terengganu or Kelantan.
Yeah.
They realize that they have to appeal more to challenges in the economy for a different group of people.
Correct.
Where it's more of quality of service at the council level, job opportunities, higher income job opportunities. Whereas in Kelantan and Kedah, it may be due to more basic issues because most of the young people who live in or who are from Kelantan and Kedah seek opportunities in Selangor.
Right.
So it's more of their parents living there. So different challenges, different priorities in those states compared to Selangor. So I think it's not fair also to compare.
Yeah, I think the same thing we can say about Pakatan Harapan, like how they have a lot of strong core supporters in the urban seats, but when you go out to rural areas, that's where you find a bit of weaknesses, challenges trying to get the voters to support. And I think you mentioned about some of the comments. If you go to Facebook and TikTok, like a lot of them consider Shahri hero for them. Yeah, I think that also explains maybe for example from the demographic of the voters. You because we did speak to a couple of political analysts before in our show, and they did say about how campaigning strategy is you cannot have one fits all.
Yeah.
So for other groups, other demographic, you have to have different strategy. But what I feel what the debate yesterday did was that it gives a better indication, clearer message to the people like what kind of policy you can expect from these two parties. Whether PAS could have brought on other leaders, people in the mall, or for example Datuk Sri Taqiyuddin, we could have seen a different form of debate. But I mean, in the end, Shahri came and that's what we got.
Okay. Right. This is my understanding. Looking at PN leaders, they're more loud and vocal. They use very colloquial language. They want to get down on the ground. And you did mention before that we had a brief discussion before the podcast. Before the show. You did mention that PH was trailing behind in terms of TikTok. So what are they doing now? I mean, how and what are you guys plan to do forward?
Well, if you compare to the last elections, the general elections in November, it was pure domination by Perikatan Nasional.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have to admit that we were slow in realizing that, and we only realized the impact in the mid-second week of the campaign in GE 15.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this is all hell breaking loose on TikTok, and we've never provided any counter.
Okay.
So it's pure monopoly, pure domination there. So we realized that, and we put a lot more effort this time around. We are still not at Perikatan Nasional's level in TikTok. I would say 65-35. On a good day, 60-40. Perikatan ahead in TikTok. But this time around, there's a contestation. There is a debate, there's a pushback, more fact-checking in TikTok, although it's a lot more difficult because people, when you see something in a screen, you tend to believe it more than someone next to you telling the same story.
True.
People trust a person you don't know more than people you know. That's the nature of news.
Yeah.
Because we all grew up watching news on the TV. Whatever came up on the television was news, was real. You had no issue of fact-checking, misinformation. Today is a different battle altogether.
Obviously, this state election is, I would say, a bit too late to make any significant impact through TikTok, for example, or social media. But would you say the next general election in 5 years, by then, PH could possibly at least win a lot of the voters more through this social media platform and to to share their policies and not putting out fake news and all that?
I think it's how you stay ahead of the curve. If you look at 2008, PH was way ahead in terms of, at that time, Pakatan Rakyat.
Yeah.
Way ahead on Twitter. Twitter was very new. It was Twitter before Elon Musk, basically. Today is a different Twitter.
It was
right?
Twitter, yeah.
And 2010, 2012, running up to 2013 elections, it was Facebook. Facebook was the battleground, and still ahead at that point.
Yeah.
2018 more of an even contest. 2022 was the TikTok election, supported by some in Facebook.
Correct.
But this time around, I think it's different. The primary battleground is TikTok. Number two, interestingly enough, I think it's actually YouTube.
Oh.
With a lot more people going on YouTube to get information, because also due to many more people coming on TikTok, some people getting fed up and say, I need to find somewhere else.
Yeah.
And YouTube is seen to be more professional.
Yeah. Okay, fair. Yeah.
More in-depth discussion.
Yeah.
More detail, and there's an appeal for that. So that's number two. And I think Facebook comes in number three. Instagram is where you want to see cat Insta stories or whatever stuff.
Right.
And Twitter, as much as it's still very active, numerically it's
very
the
small.
smallest.
Yeah.
So PH is doing something sort of to address the issue that, the president.
Of course, yeah. So like on Facebook, Twitter, I think we dominate the space 95% in terms of constantly engaging. But on Facebook, there is, I think we're ahead on Facebook in terms of engagement. In terms of putting out messaging, people responding is a different issue altogether. YouTube is fairly balanced. TikTok, we are still trailing, but we're trying to make inroads there.
Final question from me. Obviously, voting is just 2 days away. And we saw the debate last night.
Right.
At this current juncture, like, what's your prediction for the state election in Selangor, Jay?
A bit hesitant to put a number on it, but I would say if we press home the message in the next 36 hours that people have to come out and vote, we're looking anywhere from 35 to 40 seats.
Enough to form the government.
Enough to form the government. Yeah. Ideally, I personally hope that we cross the two-third line.
Yeah.
Two-third line.
Do you think it's still doable at the moment?
Yes, I'm quite confident it's doable. We just need to keep our foot on the gas. 38 seats is within reach.
All right.
Let's see what happens in 2 days' time. But thank you so much, everybody.
Thank
you so much
guys.
for joining. It was a great session talking to every single one of you. And yes, and thank you so much for spending your lunchtime with us. We will be back tomorrow, same time, same place. One day before election, of course, we will bring a different panel to talk about different issue. If you want to watch the previous episode, like I said, you can go to our YouTube channel, Selangor TV. It's on our playlist, Lunch on Earth. We will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Again, different panel, different guests, just to inform you everything that has to do with Selangor State Election 2023. See you tomorrow. Bye.